Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And that's exactly what we're going to do for this video. Democrat hypocrisy, rapid fire cannon. It's no surprise that Democrats are actively backstabbing the lower classes that vote for them in the first place. Nancy Pelosi, her real name Nancy Antoinette, she has not been dubbed Queen Nancy for no reason. The Democrat Party as a whole is not called the party of the coastal elite for, once again, no reason. They've proven time and time again that they don't care about you. They don't care about those at the bottom, those suffering. They merely use you to get elected. And in this video, I'm going to literally prove it to you. For the last couple of months, as you've been potentially suffering, you might have lost your job, you might have been furloughed, reduced hours, whatever it is. As you struggle to maintain, the Democrats ensured that their elitist friends have not only maintained, but have thrived under the current condition. And guess what? Using your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. It's an absolute crime, and it should be viewed as such. The Democrats are either criminally corrupt or criminally incompetent, potentially a mix of both. And so we gotta expose the whole racket, the whole thing, folks. I got a bunch of stories to show you guys. Once again, liberal hypocrisy as far as the eye can see. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, of course, hidden from non-subscribed viewers, so I'd really appreciate if you share the video and make sure you have notifications enabled. Now with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, so we got this first story right over here in Nancy Pelosi's California and Gavin Newsom's California. Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, one and the same. California coup for relief results in $2 billion in fraudulent claims. A report recently put out by the Bank of America indicated that there could be as many as 640,000 fraudulent accounts on the system. The Los Angeles Times reported that the unemployment claims were filed and filled with debit cards people can use to access their benefits, but that some addresses received multiple cards to the tune of hundreds. And so, surprise, surprise, bureaucracy within California is a total mess that leads to the exact kind of results you might expect. Corruption. But that's corruption from the people abusing the system, which is of course not exactly surprising considering the bloated, unaccountable system. But this is where it gets really frustrating. Multi-millionaire televangelist Joel Osteen's Lakewood megachurch received $4.4 million in federal coup for relief funds for small businesses 3 years after shutting his church doors on Harvey flood victims. And how many times are we going to see these exact stories play out? The wealthy mega elite taking advantage of the system, getting millions and millions of dollars of federal aid, in many cases directly connected to Democrats in their inner circles, while the little guy suffers. A great example of that is what happened in California not too long ago, where movie companies are able to do whatever they want, outdoor dining for their entire crew, while across the street a woman is losing everything as Garcetti and Newsom are closing down a restaurant. Well, thankfully enough, a California judge snubs Newsom and says San Diego restaurants can resume indoor dining. But that's just in San Diego. The rest of the state continues to suffer. Meanwhile, these Democrats are closing down, shuttering people's businesses. Once again, we see the Democrats not following their own rules. Rhode Island's Democrat governor caught maskless at wine bar after telling people to stay home. Just look at the picture. Whining and dining, living the high life on taxpayer dime, destroying your business while they sip their margaritas, drink their glass of wine, and while Nancy Pelosi eats her chocolate candy. Despicable people. And it literally doesn't end. Oregon's new Secretary of State Democrat caught hosting birthday party gathering in defiance of governor's coup orders. What a surprise. Rules for thee, but not for me. Then they have the audacity with Pelosi saying that House members must wear masks in chamber and will not be recognized if they don't. Literally, the same day as Stacey Abrams is walking around and sitting maskless during the Electoral College vote in Georgia. Where's the outrage? Rules for thee and not for me. Absolutely condescending, authoritarian leftists as far as the eye can see. Speaking of that exact notion, our friend Chris Cuomo from CNN, little Chrissy Cuomo, during one of his most recent segments, going off on red states for getting millions of doses of vaccines. It's unfair that red states are getting more vaccines than blue states. Right, interesting.
Where to focus the vaccine? Who should get it? Okay, well, if you start with the obvious metric, where are the most cases? Where are people dying the most? Going to be your big states. New York, California, Texas, Florida. Okay, but now let's look at those states. They also have the most healthcare workers, right? Because you have the most people, most population, most cases, most healthcare workers, most everything. Nursing home patients, healthcare workers, they need a lot, and they're first up for doses. But only one of the states I just mentioned, Texas, is even scheduled to get close to enough doses to give everyone in that first group a single dose by the end of the year. Why Texas? It's not the biggest. Certainly hasn't been the most responsible. Why Texas?
Completely disregarding the fact that the specific states that are getting a little bit more doses, it's not as if New York's not getting any doses at all. They're getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions. But these specific red states are having bigger spikes of daily cases. That's why Texas is getting more, because it's got a high population just like New York, but it's also got a bigger spike going on right now. So they're getting more cases. But of course, little Chrissy Cuomo has to turn it into something political. And literally, as he is saying many of these right-wing states mishandled COVID, he's sitting in New York and his brother is Andrew Cuomo. Meanwhile, Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota releases this great news. South Dakota's unemployment rate is down 3.5% for November. November 2019, it was 3.4%. So as you and your brother revel in the fact that New York is doing such a great job, as New York is literally dying and the unemployment rate is in double digits and people are suffering, going out of business, seems like the Republican states are doing all right. And if you think that's bad, if you think Lil Chrissy Cuomo complaining about red states getting the vaccine is bad, wait till you see this op-ed piece from the New York Times. The elderly versus essential workers. Who should get the COOF vaccine first? Well, guess what their reasoning was in this article. You might have seen it because people have been covering it all over the internet. Yep, their argument is that the elderly should not get the vaccine first because there's too many white people. The elderly are disproportionately white. Therefore, they shouldn't be prioritized for the vaccine. My friends, we are truly living in clown world. You ready for this excerpt? Harold Schmidt, an expert in ethics and health policy at the University of Pennsylvania, said that it is reasonable to put essential workers ahead of older adults given their risks, and that they are disproportionately minorities. Older populations are whiter. Dr. Schmidt said, society is structured in a way that enables them to live longer, instead of giving additional health benefits to those who already had more of them. We can start to level the playing field a bit, and that is probably one of the most disgusting pseudoscientific, pseudo-academic takes I've ever read in my entire life. Level the playing field by refusing to give a vaccine to the segment of population which needs it the most, by far at the highest level of risk whatsoever, those above the age of 70 with chronic illness, which is probably the overwhelming majority of people within nursing homes. They shouldn't receive it because we gotta start leveling the playing field. If you aren't convinced that Democrats view this kind of tragedy and view these kind of massive society-shaking events as political tools, frankly political weapons in this case, if that doesn't convince you, then nothing ever will. Older populations are whiter is a quote. Therefore, don't give them a life-saving vaccine. What? Yep, that's the world that we're living in, and you better get used to it real quick because it doesn't seem as though things are going back to normal anytime soon. It doesn't seem as if this far-left rabbit hole stops anytime soon. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until we reach the Earth's core and our faces just melt off. Oh, and by the way, as a nice little cherry on top for this video, Gretchen Whitmer lockdown closed 32% of Michigan businesses. Yep, as Gretchen Whitmer pretends to be the woman of virtue, the left keeps celebrating her as Big Gretch, who deserves to be the person of the year for 2020 because her response to the COOF was just absolutely incredible and totally not unconstitutional whatsoever. And as Big Gretch keeps saying, I feel for the small business, but she shuttered 32% of Michigan businesses, at least temporarily this year. While nationally only 19% of businesses were impacted, in Michigan specifically, she put nearly 1/3 in total lockdown this year. There's one word to describe this, and it's a word that we've described about Democrat leadership countless times. Overreach. It's government overreach, and it's gotten completely out of hand. And so it's no surprise that the Michigan House votes to repeal law Gretchen Whitmer used to issue COOF orders. She's been handed down by the courts. She's been impeached. Michigan House is voting against her to repeal her laws. It seems as though there is a referendum on the Big Gretch. But that's what I got for you guys on Democrat incompetency, Democrat elitism for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. Now I gotta get back to work, of course. There's a whole lot of liberal hypocrisy which must be exposed on a daily basis. I'm gonna get to that. I wanna thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.